In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys everything you need to know as a beginner Roblox scripter. Without any more stalling, let's get started. So in this video, I'm going to teach you guys about how to open scripts, how to move them into new parents, and explaining the parent-child system. I'm also going to explain the difference between a local script and a global script. I'm going to explain the output, which is this thing right here that gives you all those nice error messages. And I'm also going to explain about printing to the output. I'm also going to explain the basics of properties and how to code things just like this up here, where the property of the brick color is being changed. I'm also going to explain what these services mean. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, then stay tuned. Alright, so starting off just as I promised, I'm going to be showing you how to add scripts into the game itself. So if we follow on up here to our little Explorer, if you don't have your Explorer tab open, you can always find it up here. In the View tab, you just click Explorer and it will automatically open. I also recommend you have your Properties tab open and ready to go at the same time. I'll explain a bit more about properties later on. So to add things into our game and scripts, it's quite simple. For this, we're just going to be adding a regular script into the server script service. Server script service is a great place to keep your regular main server scripts, because they are very well protected by Roblox there, and it makes it very hard for hackers to get to them. Again, that's later on for when I'm explaining the global and local scripts differences. So once you've found your desired parent for the child which is the object that is going inside of the parent object, which is the object that's going to house it or hold it within it. You hover over here in the Explorer where you see this white plus icon, click the plus, and the scripts, module scripts and things like that should pop up somewhere near the top. Just select script, and now a script has been inserted, a default script with the lines print hello world to our game world. So I thought I would just quickly show you guys how to move scripts around as well. So if for whatever reason you'd like to have your script in the physical game space, then you can always just drag it and drop it into where you'd like it to be, and it will automatically drop into where your desired parent for it. I'm just going to leave mine in server script service for now though. Alright, now so for a frequently asked question I get a lot is the difference between a script and a local script. Alright, so let's take a step back here and realize what a script is actually for. A script is for basically making changes to the game without your presence. So you don't have to be in the game constantly running commands, the script will handle those for you. So generally these scripts will be sitting, just this one that I have selected right here, will be sitting somewhere in server script service, or maybe in the workspace, although I wouldn't recommend the workspace because it makes them vulnerable to attacks. Let me explain a bit more about these scripts. So these scripts are global. Now, a few years back, Roblox introduced a thing called filtering enabled. Now, what that did is basically it made it so when a person joins a game, they are what's considered the client. All right, so just hold that in your head. Client is the person. All right, the player, and they have what's called local scripts. So the local itself is referring to it's locally running on the player. So it's like it's managing GUIs, it's managing like buttons and things like that. Things that only that player can do and interact with. And these regular scripts, alright, I'll bring a local script in. As you can see in starter GUI, which is of course local to the player, that's going to bring up the local script and it's going to recommend that. It does also show script down there, but we don't really want to use these scripts unless you're actually manipulating them from the server. Also, if you need to quickly tell the difference between the two scripts, and they aren't differently named, the local script has this little child icon on it. Or the player icon to show that it's actually local to the client, and the regular scripts will just have this little scroll icon. So that's a bit about local scripts and scripts. Basically a script A regular one runs on the server. Everyone in the game can see what's happening on the server, so maybe the round, the timer is ticking down, it's telling people who's died in the round and who's won the round, and things like that. And local scripts manage things like when player clicks a button, when a player reaches a milestone, and it informs the server using an event. So local scripts are basically for managing things that are close to the client, that everyone else on the server does not need to be involved with. Okay, so moving on from local scripts and scripts, I'm just going to delete my local script for now, and we will return to that later. Just delete. You just right click it, and you will see up here it will come up with delete, rename. Delete and rename and duplicate are probably the main things you need to be aware of at the moment. So let me just delete. So now I'm going to explain a bit about printing to the output and receiving messages from scripts. So basically what the output is that it outputs messages, it's in the name, it outputs messages from the script, so it basically tells you what the game is doing and what the game is saying to the output to tell you in case to find errors. This is really good for finding like debugging and things like that. So you can fix your game, like it will say part is not a valid member of workspace, which basically means that if you're in your script and you're searching for something that says part, so for example, if you have, say, local part equals game.workspace.part, what's going to happen is if I click run and I scroll up here, see? Down here in the output, it's told me from the server that this part, this object, does not exist. It physically does not exist in the workspace. Because I'm saying the variable, which is what is just a shortcut, basically, we're saying that this part value is equal to game, which is the game, the workspace, but there is no part. See, now if I insert a part into the workspace by clicking the plus icon, what will happen is there will be no error because it's actually found the part, and now the part is stored as that variable, as information in the game. So now I'm going to run you through the basics of printing messages to the output to see what the game is doing, and just to see like messages and things like that, so that you know your game is progressing and your scripts are progressing in the way you want them to. So let me go with print, and I'm just going to add some parentheses, and we're just going to say this is the start of the script. So this is taking this as a string value. So if we come down here and we print run, as you can see down here, ignore this error message. This is the start of the script. See, it has printed this as a line of text in the output from the script. So we now know that this line of code is working. Another good way to see this is if we throw in a wait. Let's just make it wait 5 seconds. Click run again. And if we look down in our output, after 5 seconds, there it is. This is the start of the script. So that is basically how we receive information from scripts and things like that. There is also a warn command. We say this is a warning. Warning is not an error, contrary to popular belief. The warning is basically saying that the code is working, but that there are a few problems with it. Like, let's say there are things missing, but not enough things missing where the code still kind of works. The best way to describe the warn command is basically to print a message to the output, like an error, but without breaking the code. So it's like in between printing a message and it's not quite an error. An error is a complete script breaking problem that cannot be seen past by the server. So now I'm going to explain the basics of properties. Basically, properties are Properties are attributes or things about a certain object or a person or a thing according to the dictionary. But in the case of Roblox Development, we're just going to go with objects. Like this spawn here. See, inside this spawn, it's the spawn part, the spawn pad with a decal. And if we go to this spawn, it's basically a part, but it's been modified by Roblox by default. So it acts just like a part, except you spawn on it. And remember that properties window that I told you about in in the view tab earlier? Yeah, that's where that comes into play. So once we have our objects that we want to look at, I'm just going to go with the base plate, nice and simple. The base plate, and we're going to go to the properties once we have it highlighted in blue. See, now we've got all these things that we can change about this piece, this part. We can change what color it is. Let's say we can make it green, like grass. We can make it so it doesn't cast any shadows. We can make it made out of neon. We can make it made out of plastic. We can change how transparent it is and things like that. Do you sort of get what I'm going for here? I'm just going to leave the transparency at half. We can make it more reflective. We can do things like that. We can even make it so you can fall through it. I'll show you right here now. When you join in and you walk on it, if can collide is set to false, you fall right through the part. So that is a basic overview of our properties tab. So if you're enjoying the video so far, perhaps think about hitting the like button and subscribing, and you know, your boy's got to eat. Anyways, back to the video. Now I'm going to show you how to access some of these properties via a script. So let's place in a new part. Let's make him anchored, his property anchored, so he doesn't fall out of the sky, and let's make it a bit bigger. I'm going to make it a bit of a box, and we're going to make him the color red. Alright, so we have our red part under our workspace, and we are now going to make a script that's going to change things about this part. So let's come back to our tutorial script and server script service. You could also place this script under the part itself and get the parent, but for now we're just going to use this under the server script service. So drop down a few lines. So let's say we wanted to change a few properties about this part. So first we actually have to write a path to the part, so we know the script knows where to get the part from and what part we're talking about. So let's do game.workspace.part, and you can see it's come up in the IntelliSense because it's found that a part instance exists in the workspace. See, it's gone game, yep, game.workspace, okay, and it's looked in workspace and it's already seen that there is a part in there. So let's do brick color. We're going to change its brick color, which is a property down in the properties tab. If we look up here, we will see a property by the name of brick color. Now it is currently really red. I'm just going to set it to, let's make it equals brick color dot random. So now it's going to be set to a random brick color. If we click run, what should happen? As you can see, our part has turned white from red. So let's go back to our script. And now let's say we want to change it again. Let's do wait 3. A wait is just a wait command, and in between these parentheses you put the amount of seconds you'd like it to wait. And then we will just copy and paste this line back down here. And what should happen is if we click run, it's changed color, and it should change color again. As you can see, it's changed to a sub pink color, I believe. But yeah, so that's a bit about properties. We can also change whether you can collide with it. We can change how transparent it is. Let's do part.transparency, because as you can see up in here, the transparency, we can change it and we can make it more and more invisible. And let's say we start the transparency at 0.25. So that's 0.25% transparency. So let's now go back to our transparency. As you can see, it's detected the property in the part in workspace. So we just click enter, and now we can do is equal to whatever value between 0 and 1 that we'd like to put in there. So I'm just going to do 0.7, 0.75, and now what should happen is after 3 seconds after running the game, it should become, it's changing color, and it's gone more transparent. It is gone, and if we look in the transparency, it is now set to 0.75, just as we set it in our script. Let's also change the material of our part. So let's do game.workspace.part. Let's say material. We're going to change what material it is. Equals enum.material. Let's make him neon. So if we go back to run, he should turn neon. As you can see, he went neon. If we look in here, this is how we can check. He has been turned to the material of neon. And if we change the material to, let's say, brick, it is faint, but you can see the brick texture on our block. So that is all I'm going to touch on for properties for today. If you would like to see more about properties in my full beginner scripting series, then I will flash a card to that up in the top right corner right now. But don't go away yet, because I'm going to move on to explaining the services. See, people, you hear the term services being thrown around in Roblox development, but you have no idea what they're saying. A service in Roblox is basically, let's say we have the workspace service. The workspace service with its little globe icon is the game world. That's something, it's the thing that everyone in the game can see. It is the game world. It is your game. Alright? And players is basically the service, is a service that holds all of the players in the game. So if you need to access the players through a script in the server script service or something like that, if you need to get a certain player, like a random player for a round, or like you need to kick a player if they're exploiting, then you can go to that service and find that player and maybe ban their user ID, etc., etc. So I'm just explaining some of the basic services that you need to know. In later videos, I'll probably explain some of the more complicated ones, like replicated first, maybe chat, maybe localization service, test service, all these weird ones. Start a player. Start a player you don't really need to fiddle around with too much unless you're making quite an advanced game where you need to, let's say, jig around with the player physics quite a bit. Because in here you can go to properties and you can change things about the player, like let's say their beginning walk speed. See in here, if I change it to 24 and I click play, because it's messed around with my starter speed, I'm now running at speed 24. Another good one to know about it is replicated storage and server storage. Now, the only difference between these is basically this here is a replication of server storage. They're basically the same thing, but not. Replicated storage can be accessed through, I believe, local scripts, and I believe local scripts cannot access server storage. So that makes server storage a great place to keep things safe from hackers and exploiters and things that are just generally vulnerable to problems and things like that. Next is the server script service. The server script service is, well, it's pretty obvious really. It's basically a place where you just store main scripts and things like that. Starter GUI is, well, where you add in screen GUIs and buttons and things like that for the player to interact with. Like that. and you'd add a frame and a button and a shop and things like that, but we're not doing any of that today. Another good one to know about is the starter pack. The starter pack is basically what the player starts with when they load into the game fresh as a new player. Sound service, chat service, team service is basically just what team they're in. Yeah, so that's all there really is to know about services as a beginner. Okay, so that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments, and if you enjoyed, like I said earlier, please consider the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any more of my videos. But with that, I'd like to say thank you all so very much for watching. See you next time.